So Yellowjackets Season 3 has come to an end with full circle. So, quick, pointless story, but we did try to watch this live last night.
Yeah.
We had noticed previously, like 2 episodes ago, that was an option to watch it because we pay for Amazon with Paramount Plus with the Showtime extras. There's so many freaking streaming services. It's insane. And 2 weeks ago, we noticed that the new episode was like airing, and we're like live, and we couldn't rewind it or anything. We're like, oh shit, that's good to know. Like, and I wanted to get this up last night, and it was going to be perfect. And for some reason, they aired last week's episode. Did anyone else have this problem?
I don't know what was going on with that.
So we had to watch it later, and then by that time, Kaylee had to, we had other things, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
So now we're talking about it. So, anybody else have that issue? What the hell? All right. We got a kind of a little weird opening here for me because we left off on Misty getting caught with the transponder by Natalie, and I thought that's where we would start. But it did all of these kind of weird time jump type things where it was like showing Natalie getting thrown out of the tent by Shauna and being like, search her and all this stuff. And then it like quick cut to another event. And it was really weird kind of all like splicing and editing. And it almost felt like they were trying to expedite things to fit it all into one episode. Like they ran out of space for everything that they wanted to do in this episode and kind of rushed through that opening.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was like,
really weird.
If you need another episode, they shorted us an episode last year with only 9, so you could have given us an 11
that would have been
here
cool.
to make it an even 30 for the 3 seasons. It just, I don't know, like the opening felt very frantic and rushed and kind of like we're trying to, get things moving because we only have a certain, which is kind of weird because I feel like with modern shows, especially like cable, like The Last of Us did like an hour and 20-minute episode, and you can do longer episodes, right? Like Stranger Things did a 2.5-hour finale for season 4. So it's like, you don't have to stick to a specific time window.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know why they would feel rushed. They could have done an extra 20 minutes on the episode like anyone would have complained. Mm-hmm. No, of course not. So
definitely not. Yeah, it was weird. The opening was very disorienting and odd for sure.
Yeah, question. Is there a Showtime show? Maybe this is a Showtime thing. Is there a Showtime show that has a longer episode? Has Yellowjackets itself had a longer episode? I don't remember.
That's a good question. I don't know either.
Because I know HBO has done it. Game of Thrones did it a ton of times where they had way longer episodes.
Yeah.
So is Showtime a show that they can't do a longer episode? Because I felt like this should have been longer for that pacing. Anyways, moving on. All right, so that was just a little quick note. Lottie, for a second there, I thought that we were going to see that Lottie was the antler head woman, if that's what we want to call her, because she sees her in the cave.
Yeah.
Before Shauna ever dons that outfit. So she kind of, she saw it coming, I guess.
Yeah, like had a premonition.
Premonition, yeah.
I don't know. Lottie's stuff this episode is really interesting.
Or did she see it in her head, and then she told those girls what to make, and they created what she saw in her head?
Maybe.
Because that could answer that.
I don't know. It's hard to say, because it sounds sort of like Shauna is the one... I don't remember, though. Like, if this is the first time seeing that costume. We've never seen it in any flashbacks before.
We saw it in the first episode.
Well, I mean, besides that, because that takes place this episode, like, this is the first time that's ever had that, right?
To my memory, yeah.
Mine too.
Yes, because everyone was always like, who's Pit Girl?
And who's the antler
woman? And it's funny enough, just, pat ourselves on the back a little bit. I think it's a little anticlimactic because these are all such obvious guesses. Like, you were right out the gate with it's Mari is the Pit Girl. Just based on one attribute, which is her hair. It was like, this girl doesn't have dark hair, this girl doesn't have dark hair, these characters live, these characters aren't that important, right? It was like, Mari was the most obvious person just based on her hair, unless we introduced a new character, which we did in Hannah,
right,
who has dark hair,
yeah.
And you're like, oh, maybe that's Pit Girl.
There's definitely other characters that have dark hair, but
they're not big enough for it to matter.
Yeah, we that was one of our first guesses in like the first season for sure.
And then I said Van was the one standing over the pit because I was like, she has the build of Van.
And
that's
Converse.
That's
and
her.
everything.
That's her build. Like I just her physical build. I was like, that's Van. I said it in multiple ones of these breakdowns. I'm like, it looks like Van. And it's Van.
It does.
And then, of course, we also, when it was the Antler Girl, we're like, it's probably Shauna. It's either Shauna or Lottie. Like, that was, or it could be Natalie. It was like one of the three. It's most obviously going to be one of them. So but we were like, yeah, it's probably Shauna. She's a fucking nut.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is that because Shauna says, like, bring me her hair, and then the hair of Mari is on the costume.
That's crazy.
It makes me feel like Shauna is the one that, like, was like, this is how I want to look. But I don't know. Who's to say? Lottie could definitely have been like, you need to wear this, and Shauna just added, like, an extra touch to it or something. But with Lottie this episode, it definitely feels like she's getting a lot of premonitions and weird stuff happening, especially with Mari. Right before Mari falls into the pit, she's like, you've been here before. Like, you can make it different. That stuff is really interesting to me.
So for me, I feel like that was a potential warning, right? Like she was trying to give her a heads up.
I do too, but
because Mari fell into a pit before, and I think it was that specific pit because when she fell in there and Ben got her out of it, I think she was like, "Look where you're at. Remember, like, don't fall into another pit."
Yeah.
Right? And she like just was like, didn't listen and just ran straight into it. So I almost feel like she was trying to give her a warning without outright saying anything.
Yeah, I definitely feel like she was sort of, warning her, for sure. And we also get to see Lottie's death with her younger self, that, like, aftermath that we've gotten with Van and Natalie. And so that was really cool to see her, like, sit up off of the autopsy table or whatever.
Yeah. She's not in the plane, though.
She's not in the plane, but she's like, did we miss it? Or did we miss her? Or I think she says her. And her younger self is like, no, we haven't yet. And then that's also when things get really weird, because it sort of feels like we're jumping around in time, where Lottie is like, downstairs where she dies with all the candles and everything. And like all that kind of happens before Callie shows up. So interesting stuff with Lottie. And also, just to piggyback on it, because I think it kind of ties into it, is everything with Travis this episode. He also says some really cryptic stuff about how he asks, like, how can you even be sure that this is your reality? Like, most of my thoughts, or like some of my thoughts are Javi's, and my favorite ones are Jackie's. And then he kind of spooks Shauna, because it seems like he's recounting a memory that he wouldn't have any way of knowing about a sleepover, like the slumber party thing. And so I don't know, that was very interesting to me, because he's also clearly drunk in this episode, which we haven't really seen him acting super inebriated in the past episodes, but we've definitely seen him kind of numbing himself more and more, because he's basically from almost the beginning of this season been like, this is all bullshit, like none of this is real. And but at the same time, the last episode, he had a moment with Lottie where she walks over this pit and doesn't fall into it. So there's some seeming like weird stuff. So I don't know, very interesting stuff with him, very cryptic. I don't know what that means, that they're sharing memories, that they're sharing realities. I don't know I
feel like this would have been the better one to call One Drunk Travis.
Sure.
Than that other episode where he's barely in it and he didn't even seem drunk. This one, he is one drunk Travis.
He
for
definitely
sure.
is.
So yeah, that's funny to me. So anyway, we'll get back there. I don't want to get off. We're gonna try to stay
and
on
the episode.
Yeah. So Anybody who had I'd seen a theory in the comments where they were like, I think Cody's not dead. Like you could get stabbed in the eye and survive. Well, he's now decapitated. His head is put on a pike, and he has like arrows through his freaking head. I think it's safe to say that the old Kodiak is not coming back.
Yeah.
So he's definitely dead. But he hasn't decomposed much, so that gives us a bit of a timeline of how long this has been. Because when we did a little jump there, and she was pushing her out of the tent, I was like, how many days? Like, whatever. But then when they showed his head, I'm like, this has got to be, like, within 24 hours. Like, this is the same day. But I also feel like they would have had that confrontation shortly, like, right when she came back. So this, yeah. I would assume this came the same day, but they also cut the head off of somebody and put it on a pike and sucked things through it before she even got back. I don't know. The timeline's kind of weird there. That's why I'm saying the jump is odd. And we don't really get much of that confrontation between Misty and Natalie. Right? Like, we see a tiny bit of it, but I thought that was going to be a big moment, right?
Sure.
And a big blow up between the two, and like, you can't tell anyone and all this stuff. We get it a little bit, but it's very condensed.
Yeah.
Very, very condensed. Yeah. So, yeah, it is what it is. And let's see. Yeah, so, okay, obviously the big thing here, and I had suggested this in passing, you know, when we were trying to figure out who killed Lottie. We were just kind of throwing out random names, and I was like, well, Callie could have done it. And I think everyone was like, no way.
It just seemed very improbable, but yeah, we get this, like, reveal that Callie, well, that Lottie, you know, finds the tape that Melissa sent and takes it, and Callie goes to find her.
Yeah. And
they have a very weird interaction where Lottie is so clearly like, you know, if things aren't mystical or supernatural, then she's having like a mental health crisis, basically. Yeah. She seems very manic in that scene with her, and she's, you know, telling her also cryptic stuff by like telling her like the wilderness took our baby, like you're the new baby,
yeah,
you're our baby, and you're like Shauna but more, like she's jealous of you and all this stuff. And you know, Callie, when Misty confronts Callie and is like, and we should have put this together, this is like one of those things that it's like, yeah, the DNA thing, because Misty's like, you did it, the DNA, blah blah blah, and Callie's like, it was an accident, like I didn't mean to kill her. But then we very clearly see, like, 100%, like she's pushing her in a aggressive way. Now, yes, like Jeff says, she's scared. She's, you know, Lottie's like grabbing onto her arm and like getting closer to her and being really intense, and like, sure, maybe her, you know, her reaction is to push, but we do see like an expression on her face that makes it seem much more like it's intentional. Like she intends to push her, and they're on stairs. Whether she intended to kill her, I mean, yeah, maybe that's what she's meaning, where it's like, I didn't actually want her to, like, die. I just wanted to, like, push her and get her away from me. Yeah. But she does it, like, you know, very intentionally, I would say.
Never compare someone to Shauna.
Yeah, she gets really pissed off.
That's like the biggest insult you can do.
Yeah.
God, I hate Shauna.
Oh my God, Shauna this episode is, like... And the way it ends with Shauna, too.
So bad.
I mean, she's, like... the big bad now, it feels like.
100%.
She literally is like, I want to go back to who I was then, and we've seen nothing but her progressively getting worse and worse in the past as her younger self.
Well, I feel like the timelines have converged.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because, okay, one thing that I wasn't really taking into account, which I should have been taking into account when we had talked about previous episodes and saying where people were with Shauna in the beginning of the show in the adult timeline and how it matches up with the events leading up to the rescue, and do they match up? And the one factor I wasn't factoring in that I should have been factoring in for obvious reasons here is that they have purposely forgotten most of what they did out there.
Yeah.
And as things have progressed throughout the show and more things have happened to them, I feel like not only are we being given this like snapshot of the memories, but they are also remembering alongside of us.
Yeah.
As things are, you know, happening. They're remembering more and more.
I think that's definitely
and I think
true.
It's affecting who they are in this in this timeline.
I think that's
right? Like as
definitely
Shauna
true.
realizes more of what she was,
Yeah.
she's becoming more of what she was. And if you see in the end here, Shauna is basically in the same place. You know, she is completely full on evil by the end of both timelines in where we're at now with them. And everybody who's left has made a pact to turn on her, just like in the other timeline.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely.
Misty and them have made a little pact of like, we're taking Shauna down. And at the end of this, we get Ty and Misty together being like, we're taking Shauna down. And Shauna has isolated herself because of her actions.
Yeah, it mirrors very, very much. And I mean, Ty even says like, I had forgotten like what she was like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right that that the memories are coming back to them, and the same thing is shown with Shauna being like, I'm remembering more and more. Like I think we forgot what I mean, to her, she's like, we forgot it because we liked it. I don't think that's the case for everybody. I think it's for sure the case for her. And we've talked about this. Like I'm sure that there are aspects that they all did actually like. Like there's a freedom of them living out in the wilderness, but then there's so much darkness. Obviously the cannibalism and everything is just, that's something totally different. And yeah, I think I really like how there are parallels between the past and present this episode. I think that it's a really solid season finale for that reason too. I think it's very satisfying to me to see both of those storylines meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the mirroring. Back to the Callie scene really quick with Lottie. When Lottie walks out into the hotel lobby and runs into Callie, I think she says something like, oh, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which, in the moment, because of the premonitions that she'd been having and the conversation she'd had with herself, it seemed like she knew her end was coming, but she didn't know by who.
Yeah.
And when she walked out, it was like, oh, you're the one that's going to kill me.
Yeah.
That's the way I took that line, and it was interesting to me. Now, of course, she can like have a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? The reason we keep bringing this up in case this is your first time watching, we are always trying to make sense of how it can be supernatural, but also at the same time be reality, and that this show is always trying to ride that line, walk the fine line, where it can always be explained one way or the other. And I feel like because Lottie thinks she's having these premonitions, she can goat Callie into pushing her down the stairs.
Absolutely. I think that's also shown with everything that happens with Aquila, because we kind of find out that assume.
Yeah, it looks like she poisons the animals. Yeah.
And because Lottie, makes a comment like, it must have been really hard to do that.
Yeah.
But then she's like, your vision came true as well. But it's like, it only came true because you killed the animals.
Yeah, because you
So that is the self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, you made that happen. It wouldn't necessarily have happened. Which is, all that's very interesting, too. Not to get too off track with that. Like, if you have more to say about Lottie and Callie. But no. Aquila, does confront Lottie and is like, I don't believe this. Like, you're lying.
Yeah.
But I guess we have seen her kind of doubting things a bit, but it is like, why would you then kill the animals? I mean, we know that she loves them. So it's like, I don't really understand why she kills the animals to then be like, this is all, like, I know why she kills them. She kills them because she's like, we can have a hunt if they die. Like, we can do this thing. But it just seems interesting to me that it's like, she's willing to do that, but now she's, I guess, regretting it, or, deciding, like, actually this isn't correct. I don't know. Just interesting.
I think she, she manipulates her into it, and then once she sees the animals actually dead, it's one thing to do the poisoning because you think you're doing what's right, but then once you see the animals dead, yeah, they're all out of their minds. Like,
absolutely.
Obviously, yeah. Right? And I think, like, this is what breaks her, is actually seeing the animals dead and emaciated, the way that they look, and they're so innocent, and she loves her animals, right? And for her to get talked into it, yeah, that's going to be the breaking point.
Yeah.
Right? Because, look at look at any cult. Look at Jonestown with these people drinking the Kool-Aid, feeding it to their own kids. Like, if you don't think you can convince people to do things like this, study history. Of course you can.
Oh,
but
definitely.
I think once you I think a lot of people in Jonestown probably killed their kid, and then they were looking at them, and it's like they probably killed themselves not even because they even believed anymore, but because they're like, I can't believe I just killed my kid. What the hell did I do? Now I got to kill myself because I can't deal with the guilt of this. So I think like it can snap you out of the trance that you're in once you see the horrors of what you've committed in the name of what you've believed in. Because it is all bullshit.
I think that's fair.
And, with later on, they're all doing it.
Oh, absolutely.
They're all guilty of this because Ty talks Van into rigging the deck, which then, of course, completely negates the whole point of it being the wilderness picking.
Right.
But then Shauna comes and becomes this variable, in play that they didn't suspect, which then pushes it on to Mari. But, you could argue that if you want to believe, you can always make that argument, right? Of like, God works in mysterious ways. You can always make it fit if
like
you
Shauna
want.
was always going to step in.
Correct. And we manipulated
choose.
You to rig the deck.
Sure.
And that Shauna was our pawn into it to make sure it got to the person it was always supposed to get to.
Which is fine, because it does feel like Shauna is, potentially being
guided,
controlled, or not, maybe not controlled, but definitely influenced. She has I think Jackie kind of wake her up when the snow happens, and she's been having these they all have, the whole season have been having visions and stuff, but she is so paranoid in this. I mean, because she thinks
she's
that
right.
She is.
Her paranoia is correct.
But she thinks that they're trying to kill her. Like, I think that is why she steps in.
But she knows something's up, is what I'm saying.
She totally does. She knows,
correct.
and she's correct each time. I mean, even when Mari's friend, what's her name? Oh my god, I don't know.
The
her
one
name.
who's trying to
the one who comes over and is like, Ty, Van is hurt or whatever, and Shauna's like,
Jen.
she's lying. Yeah,
Jen.
Yeah, when Jen does that, and she's correct. I mean, Jen is like, it's really sad. She's trying to give Mari some more time because she doesn't want her friend to die. So that's all sad. But so Shauna's correct, but she's also still crazy.
It's also not that hard to guess that there's people against you when you literally just had a mutiny of Natalie and others. So it's not much of a leap in logic to be like, there's probably people who aren't with me on this when multiple people were not on board just that day or day before. They all tried to leave and whatever. So I don't. This is why I'm saying it always can be very easily explained to me on how there's nothing supernatural and that everyone's just insane. That everyone has lost their minds being out in the wilderness for too damn long.
Yeah, with Shauna, too, as Mari is running away, she tells her, you're going to get everything or you deserve everything that's coming to you.
Yeah.
And we definitely see in the future, that type of, the karma, so to speak, is starting to pile up. Obviously, Jeff and Callie leave. Callie, tells Jeff that she killed Lottie, and Jeff is, very much, on her side and everything, and which sucks, because he's he doesn't want he ultimately, I think, does not want his daughter to be like Shauna. So, I think there might be a bit of denial there, I suppose. But it's also it's your kid. You're going to do anything you can to protect them and help them. And, they leave, and Shauna comes home to find them, find the house empty. And then during that time, she also finds the letter from Melissa, which she was like, you're lying, there is no letter, all this stuff. And, she reads it, and it's exactly what Melissa said.
Yeah.
And kind of instead of admitting that she's wrong and that she made a mistake or anything like that, she just shreds it and flushes it down the sink. Very, very Shauna thing to do. Her consciousness, her conscience, she cannot let herself actually look at what she's done.
No.
Because if she was being honest about things, I think the guilt of everything would completely destroy her. And it kind of is already destroying her, but she's telling herself instead, and this is also probably true, that she enjoys being a bad person, essentially. Like, that's who she is.
Fun out there.
Right.
Yeah. That's the thing she says. We can't admit we are having fun out there.
Yeah.
She's the one that says that,
yes,
right? Yeah,
that's what she says when she's, like, writing her note.
Yeah, I mean, you know, back to the Callie thing really quick with Jeff. You know, he obviously has, he's already dealt with this.
Yeah.
Right? So he has experience here to take this information better than maybe most would. It's like, he already helped dispose of a body for his wife.
Yes.
And he already knows that something happened out in the wilderness with his wife in the past that isn't on the level. So this dude has been repressing that stuff completely. And as far as Shauna goes, you know, this makes her even more of a hateable character to me because she's not some full-blown sociopath that does not have any emotion and therefore is like totally fine doing terrible things because it doesn't affect her. No, it does affect her when she thinks about it. She purposely ignores her emotions to continue to keep doing the bad thing because she likes it.
Yeah.
That makes her even less sympathetic than somebody who's just like a Patrick Bateman or something.
Sure.
Who's like a complete sociopath. And it's like, no, they just don't have that part of the brain. The reason they're like this is because there's something so broken in them that they don't even function like a regular person. And it's like, no, Shauna has that capacity. She just represses that capacity. She just literally shuts that part of her brain down.
And we definitely know that trauma changes people's brains is the thing, too. So you can have a super traumatic experience, starting out with, like, a healthy brain.
Yeah.
And you can make yourself turn into, a sociopath or trigger some tendencies in your brain as a result of the trauma. So it's, I think that's probably more likely is what has happened to her. And, with Jeff and Callie, like, yes, Jeff has that experience, but also Misty definitely helped them. Like, when Shauna goes over to Misty's house and is like, I know neither of them knows how to call the phone company, which is also kind of like,
condescending.
Very condescending. It's like, what do you mean? Like, you just, like, look up the phone company. Like, Callie would know how to do that. Like, she would
So would Jeff. Jeff runs a fucking furniture business.
But she acts like they don't know how to do it. So, yeah, okay, let's say they don't. Let's say, because the implication is that Shauna takes care of all of the, like, the bills and the, like, whatever.
She's the one that just screwed them out of an entire deal that would be monumental for Jeff's business.
Let's
she's
just,
fucking
let's just say that they don't do that and they don't, like, whatever.
Yeah.
You don't know the details. I do think that Misty, I don't know. Actually, now that I'm saying it, I don't know if Misty talked to Jeff. I think Misty has only talked to Callie, honestly.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm kind of taking back what I was going to say, which was that I thought that maybe Misty had helped them, mostly because of the way that Ty and Misty are talking to each other and how they're like, let's team up against Shauna, basically.
It's not that complicated to call the phone
It's
company.
not. So I think probably not. I think that's just Shauna being paranoid again. Yeah. Speaking of, also just quickly, because during that scene with Shauna with Ty and Misty, Walter is outside. Like, Walter drives by and is, like, looking in on them while listening to, like, Slayer or something. And he looks concerned about that team up. He looks, like, worried about it to me.
It's such a quick shot. I don't know what to make of it.
That was my initial impression.
Yeah, you
was
might
that
be
he
right.
was worried or he was, like, just concerned.
What is that scene? 3 seconds?
It's so quick.
So fast.
It's
I don't
so
really
quick.
know what to make of it.
I don't either. I still don't know what to make of Walter's character. I still feel like he's going to become something bigger, but I don't know. He can also just be a red herring. He can also just be somebody, it seems weird that he would be, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. So, do you think Shauna killed Caligula?
No, because she leaves. She does look over at his cage for a second, and we thought maybe that was what was going to happen. But Misty's still home when Shauna's in her house, and then we cut to the next scene, and Misty's, out in the world, and she doesn't seem upset about anything. She would have found her bird dead.
The next scene is Misty with Ty?
I don't know what the next scene is, but she would have found her bird dead. Like, that would have been a reveal. I feel like that would have been a reveal in this episode. I don't feel like she killed her bird, and then we're going to have, like, in a year from now, Misty's going to come home and Caligula is going to be dead, and we're going to be asked as the audience to remember that quick look Shauna gave the cage a year ago.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have happened in this episode had that been a reveal. But yeah, she looks over at that cage really quick. It's
a suspicious look.
It is. It's possible she put something in the cage, like a listening device or something like that, to try to listen in on Misty's activities. But I just feel like a dead bird, something that it's not even just like, you know, some random animal in her house. It's clearly like her prized possession.
Yeah.
Right? It's like she loves that bird. So I feel like before she left, she would notice that her bird was murdered. So no, I don't see how that would work. Because, yeah, anyway. So no, I don't. But I do wonder that look.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just kind of like her and this stupid bird.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
You know, I don't know if it's meant to mean anything,
yeah.
But maybe it will come to something.
We'll see.
Yeah. I do find it ironic that Travis really is the only one. I shouldn't say the only one, but he's really the only one not participating at all. Everyone else may be participating just half-heartedly or straight up trying to lead people off the trail. But Travis ultimately is the one who stays behind and is like, no thanks. And ironically, he's the one who gets her killed.
Yeah.
Right? It's his trap that was laid that Mari falls into and dies. So I found that to be super ironic that he's like, this is all bullshit. I'm not having anything to do with this. And he's the one who kills her. Now, you know, they led her into the pit. They're the ones that chased after her and we're running after her. So they're partially responsible. I just find it ironic, not funny at all, terrible. But yeah, so there's that. I don't know where in the show I've hated Shauna the most, but the main contender is the way she reacts to Mari getting picked.
Oh yeah.
The
She's
look on her face,
so
the
excited.
smile, the excitement she has chasing after her. That whole scene. Because we've gotten comments, once in particular, but a couple, but this one specifically, where they're like trying to suggest that I'm assuming because I'm a man and I hate women, they're like, you wouldn't hate Shauna as much if she was a man. Like Kaylee and I have talked about, no, you're right. We'd probably hate her more because I am a little more forgiving to women than I am to men when it comes to being like abusive to their spouses. Not much, but I can admit that I have a soft spot for women. There's no doubt about it, especially the prettier they are. This is just part of who we are as people. We have a beauty bias. Not all of us, but most of us. And for me, it's like, if you watch this episode and you watch that scene with Mari getting picked and Shauna's reaction to it, and you think that Shauna is not the worst person, and also that anyone would be like, well, I mean, if she was a man, I'd be okay with that. No.
Yeah,
I hate Shauna because Shauna's awful.
Yeah. I think that Shauna's a very complicated character, and I've definitely been kind of all over the place with her throughout the seasons. Like, I definitely had, I hate her the most now. Wasn't feeling that way. I know you've kind of disliked her from the beginning. But I think that it's important that it's okay to have, like, female characters that are just villains and that you don't like. I mean, they don't have to be perfect and redeemable, and it's not because they're women that they are disliked. Like, it's their actions and behavior and everything. And that's definitely the case with Shauna. So yeah, but that scene in particular is like, yeah, her expression and everything is so awful, and you're just like, why is she so into this? I think also her behavior throughout the hunt. I mean, when Melissa attacks her and is like choking her out, and then Melissa stops because she can't do it, Shauna's just like, I knew you'd be boring, and it's just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, you are just
Crazy.
asking to be killed.
Yeah.
Which she is, and I think she will get what's coming to her, but maybe not. I mean, maybe this whole, like, the story could end with her being the survivor. Like, it could definitely end on that note, which would be crazy. But I would not put it past it, because I think that the show writers do a really great job at writing these complicated, multifaceted, dislikable, but also have all these, like, likable characteristics too. Like, they're just very complex characters, and it is a dark show, and there is not like a hoorah one protagonist that's a perfect person. Like, all of them have walked away scarred by their experience, and it is like this interesting look at, like, the victims have become kind of like the perpetrators in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so there's tragedy to it. There's no denying that it's tragic what happened to them as kids, and that this has, like, affected who they've become. But
Sure.
Unfortunately, as everybody knows, like, whether or not you're a victim or have mental illness or anything like those, that doesn't excuse you from being a bad person. Like,
No.
It just, yeah. So that scene with Melissa is definitely up there on, like, just the way that she and Melissa's relationship has turned out. Definitely feels like next time Melissa has her, she's gonna, not hesitate like she did. And yeah, I think the other big thing with this episode is obviously how it ends.
One note before we go
Yeah.
on, though, but with the Shauna thing, I definitely want to, say though that this doesn't. My hatred for Shauna is one of the elements of the show that keeps me watching.
Oh,
right?
sure.
So it's not like oh my god, I hate Shauna.
Yeah.
I want her off the show. Like, no, she's one of the most interesting characters.
Absolutely.
And keeps it, like, some
Yeah.
people can't disconnect themselves from that. So when they're talking about, they're like, oh my god, I want her dead. I do want her dead. I just don't want her dead yet.
It's hard to watch.
Celebrating her death will be wonderful if that ever happens. Very much like Joffrey. Right, on Game of Thrones, or Ramsay Bolton, or these characters that you're just like, oh my god, you love to hate them. You hate them so vehemently that you're like, oh, I can't wait. And as far as, like, the end of where we're going with this show, I do believe that this show will at least somehow get them to return to where they were. I think that the remaining members, which those numbers are dwindling.
Yeah.
But we have 4 people left that we're aware of.
Right.
Melissa, Shauna, Ty, and Misty are the survivors still in the adult timeline. And I think that, unless we get another surprise, I guess we could.
Definitely could.
We definitely could see a character or 2 surviving. Now, if anyone is, like, faked their death, right,
Sure.
that we thought had died before, or in the adult timeline, like a Lottie or, whoever, I mean, that's possible. But I do think that we're going to probably end up, at some point, them returning to the wilderness, where they were as kids. And I would love for this show to end with them out there and Shauna being hunted.
That would be crazy. That would be a good scene for
or
sure.
at least they all, like, draw cards to do the one final sacrifice. And Shauna, picks
That
the
would
card.
be cool.
And then Ty's like, rig the deck for Van.
Yeah, that would be really interesting to see them as adults return to the wilderness. How that would happen, I don't know. I mean, Shauna could draw them out there.
It's very lost, right?
Very lost.
We gotta go back.
Very lost, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that idea. We'll see. We'll see if that happens. But yeah, I agree with what you said. I think Shauna is one of the most interesting characters of the show, for sure.
So,
but yeah,
you can continue, but I just wanted to make sure I interjected to get that in. What were you going to say after?
I was going to say that the next big part is how the episode ends with Natalie. During the whole hunt, Hannah follows Natalie, and they have a moment where Hannah reveals, like, no, like, I literally just killed him because
I knew they'd kill us.
They'd kill us, yeah. And she's like, I actually want to get the fuck out of here, too. Yeah. And so they switch their clothes, and this is also that Natalie can get away to climb up to get, more altitude so that she can potentially get a signal on the...
elevation.
Yeah, to climb elevation so she can get a signal on the satellite phone. Mm-hmm. And when Shauna, finds out, oh my gosh. And everyone, seems to kind of have known. Misty's smiling, and some of the other people, I don't remember who else. I think Van, maybe, in the background, are just kind of happy because they've fooled Shauna. They, bought time, essentially, for Natalie to get away. Because this is all after the hunt. This is all after the feast and everything has happened. And Shauna is just, so angry that Natalie's not there. Angry. And I love everything with Natalie, obviously. Her trying to get just on the phone, asking for help. And then, obviously, we get somebody that answers.
Yeah.
At the very end. So, that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean... how long will the rescue take? How do you pinpoint where that transmission is coming from? I mean, she's going to, of course, tell them we're survivors. Yeah. So that's gonna, make the search go back on. How long? I mean, this show supposedly is supposed to go 5 seasons. Yeah. Will we see them rescued by the end of season 4? And then... I would love for season 5 to feature the girls back home.
Yeah.
In the past timeline, and see how they kind of forget and where they go and how they get to the place where it leads up to the events of the beginning. I would love to see the show's timeline of the past timeline literally work its way up to the opening episode of season 1, and then they, this timeline ends, the adult timeline ends, and you see the past timeline get to the front of the adult timeline. And so you see the whole thing as they both end. They both end as the beginning of this one and the end of that one. So I think that would be very cool. And for it to kind of flip itself to where in the past timeline, we kind of start with them being in the wilderness and work their way up to being back in the real world, and then in the adult timeline we start in the real world or the city, you know what I mean, the real world, and then it ends with them back in the wilderness, right? So it's completely flips and mirrors itself.
It'd be really cool.
Yeah,
I would like that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think ultimately they'll end up back out in the wilderness.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Okay.
As especially with the authorities are going to be coming after them for the things that they're doing. They broke into frickin' Melissa's house, and there's blood everywhere, and there's a dead body, and Van's... I mean, we didn't even talk about this.
Oh, yeah.
Ty ate Van's heart.
We didn't even talk about that. There's just so much that happened in this episode. But yeah, Ty buries Van in, some side road thing, and then eats her heart, and so that's pretty crazy.
They're probably all going to have to go on the run. Right?
Yeah, you're right, probably.
And out into the wilderness where no one can find them would be the best place.
Yeah. We'll see.
So.
We'll see. Another year?
Yeah, we hope, right?
Hopefully.
We don't want another 2 years or something, but we had no writer strikes, we have no any of those things, so I would assume we'll probably get it next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exciting.
We shouldn't have those big delays again like we did, all our shows from and this and that. We'll be there. So we should be on track for this being... I don't know, though. I mean, has this officially gotten renewed? How many people are watching it? Imagine if it got canceled right now.
Oh, my God.
I mean, that is always something to consider.
That would
Just
be
because
crazy.
They have something planned
doesn't
mean it happens. I mean, there's tons of shows that I've watched that I love. Santa Clarita Diet and Glow, and unfortunately shows sometimes just don't get renewed. I hate to put that out into the world, and I'm sure some people are like, nah, freaking out right now, but until we get a confirmation for sure.
Yeah.
You
Possible?
never know. I highly doubt it.
I do
It's
too. I
a
think
pretty
the
popular
show-
show. But I don't know. I haven't looked into the ratings. I haven't looked into anything lately. Will this for sure get renewed? Not for sure, but more than likely. So hopefully we'll get an announcement of like, we're sticking to it. We got renewed for season 4 and 5, and 5 will be the end. Like, if we can get that confirmation. But I wouldn't be surprised if they've, behind the scenes, they were like, okay, we need to wrap this up a little quicker or whatever, and season 4 ends up being the final season. So,
Yeah.
The plan is supposedly was 5, but lots of shows have done that, right? Like, the OA was supposed to be 5 seasons. Fuck, Andor was supposed to be 5 seasons originally. Then they cut it down to 3. Now it's down to 2, and we're about to get the second season right now, which is the end. And was a very popular show.
Yeah.
Right? It was one of the most streamed shows in Disney Plus. So, anyway, let's not put that out there. I'm just saying, hopefully it gets renewed. And we're talking about it. Otherwise, that would be crazy. For anyone who cares, the next show we will be covering is The Last of Us, which is in 2 days. We are massive Last of Us fanatics, both the video games and now the TV show. So we will be covering that. If you have not played the video games, we typically talk very heavy spoilers from the video games. We do know what's going to happen. So if you want to follow us into that show, you can do so. That will be the next show we cover in 2 days' time. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, so crazy. Very exciting.
Yeah.
But this was a fantastic finale, I think. So
I actually lied. The next show we'll be covering is Black Mirror,
yes, that's not
which
week
we're
to
watching
week,
right now.
Yeah.
We'll have those episodes up soon because we watched 2 episodes this morning. And we're going to watch, the other 4, I think 4. Anyway, sorry, what were you going to say?
No, just saying that this was a great season finale episode, and I think that there's going to be a lot for people to, the theories. I think there's going to be a lot to study and be like,
Oh, like when I thought I saw the symbol.
Yeah, in Misty's glasses and just all kinds. There's always stuff like that, right? If you go back and comb through episodes and everything. So, yeah, I think it'll give people a lot to kind of chew on for the next year. And yeah, excited for the next season, which we will get because we're not jinxing it.
Yeah. Super
excited for The Last of Us, so definitely join us with that.
And if we don't get it, we're gonna have to do a hunt.
Yes.
So that the forest spirits will give us the next season.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. That it?
That's it.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for taking this journey with us once again. Our 3rd season of covering this. It's been a journey. There's been some interesting comments from y'all, but mostly good ones. Mostly fun ones. Thanks for always engaging and commenting and giving us your thoughts. And we've tried our best to acknowledge any comments we've gotten, fixes on these little mess ups and corrections.
Yes, yeah, no, it's good community effort.
Yeah,
we get the facts right.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's always cool to see everybody's theories.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So until next year,
or
if you visit us for any of the new shows that we're watching.
Yep.
We'll see you then.
Bye.